I don't see your. Are you? Am I visible? Audible?
Yeah, one
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah. Okay.
One
Fine.
watching.
Okay. Then
Yes,
I'll.
you're audible.
Sure. Starting. Okay. Bye, ma. Bye. ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरुः सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः सर्ववेदान्तसिद्धान्त गोचरं तमगोचरं गोविन्दं परमानन्दं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. So now we have already come to the portions where the Guru is answering the Shishya's question of Ko nama bandhaha. What is this bondage? Kathamesha agataha. From where this bondage has come? Kasya pratishta. What is the pratishta? Ka pratishta. What is the pratishta means what is the sustenance of this bondage? All that we saw in the last one or two sessions we saw. What is this bondage? Why it is called bondage? From where it has come? Ignorance was talked about. The avarana shakti of Maya was talked about. Vikshepa shakti of Maya was talked about. And it was clearly understood that when what I am is hidden or veiled by the tamo guna of Maya, the veiling power of Maya, and when I am not available to myself, the reality of myself is not available to myself, then there is a vikshepa, there is a projection of a wrong me, there is a wrong notion. When there is an ignorance of what the reality is, there is a projection of something which is wrong, which is not the real. So, this unreal projection in the form of I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense complex is what is called as the Vikshepa Shakti. And this Avarana Shakti of Maya and Vikshepa Shakti of Maya has caused this samsara for me. And this tree of samsara, which we saw last time, whatever is the tree of samsara that we saw in the previous verse, in the 145th verse, we saw in the last session, Bijam Samsriti Bhumijasya, this Bhumija, this is a tree of samsara where the ignorance is the moolam, where Maya is the moolam for this, and then how this entire tree of samsara is continuing to really perpetuate itself. And I have to put an end to it. That's it. Because for me, I have to put an end to it. Maya continues. The Avarana Shakti of Maya, Vikshepa Shakti of Maya continues. It continues to delude the Jiva. But then it is up to me to decide that I want to get out of this samsara bondage. And then what do? I have to get rid of the ignorance. The avarana shakti, which is caused by this maya, has to be taken into account and on inquiry, on atmajnanam. This knowledge destroys the seed of ignorance. That is the avarana shakti of maya. And when avarana shakti of maya is completely destroyed, then I realize that all my ideas about myself, that I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense complex, I am a limited jiva, this world is real, this body, mind, sense complex is real, all these wrong notions are taken care of. And when the wrong notions are gone, the truth shines by itself. in the form of I am that Atma Swarupa, I am that Atma Brahma, there is no bheda between me and Ishvara. This is how actually the getting rid of the samsara is possible with the self inquiry, with Vedanta Vichara, it is possible. That is what up to we saw in the last session. And now, how does one get freedom from this? We said we can get free. I said just now that it is for the individual to decide, yes, I am bound by this samsara. And now I know what is the reason for my bandha. I know what this bandha is, what the reason for bandha is. And I also know that there is a way out of this bandha. And the only way out of this bandha is doing Vedanta Vichara. So, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to handle this? How am I supposed to know what this Vichara is? It is up to me, and I have to go to Vedanta Vichara. So, the only way I can get freedom, next is a topic where how does one gain freedom from this bondage? Katham vimokshaha, asmat bandhat katham vimokshaha. Where is the vimoksha? Is it possible? Am I doomed to be like this, completely stuck in this tree of samsara for lives and lives together? Forever am I stuck like this? Or is there a moksha, a vimoksha, or is there a freedom from this samsara? Freedom from this samsara is what is called as actually moksha or mukti. And then how do I go about it? What is it that really gives me this moksha? This is what is going to be talked about in the 148th verse, verse number 148 in the original. So, what does it say here also? In this verse also, there is no proper chandas. Therefore, I am going to chant it like how we chant the Bhashya. So he says, Shruti Pramanaikamatehe Swadharmanishthatayaiva Atmavishuddhirasya Vishuddha Buddhehe Paramatmavedanam Tenaiva Samsara Moolanashaha. So if I have to get the samsara moola nasha, if I have to destroy the samsara moola called as ignorance, what should I do? That is what is going to be told here. He says, Shruti pramana ekamatehe. Shruti pramana ekamati. That means what? For the one who's committed to getting out of this bondage of samsara, one has to commit oneself to the knowledge of the Shruti. Shruti is the only pramana. What is the meaning of Shruti? Vedanta. Vedanta is the only pramana. Pramana means what? The means of knowledge. Because this knowledge is a very subtle knowledge that I am this Atma, I am not the Anatma, it is no other pramana, no other means of knowledge can give me this particular understanding. The only means of knowledge which can give me this understanding is Vedanta Pramana. It is also called as Shabda Pramana or Vedanta Pramana. Pramana means merely a means of knowledge. And here, the person who is committed to the Shruti Pramana, because he understands, he knows that there is no other way. There is no other way in which I can free myself from the bondage of samsara. There is only one way, and this one way is surrendering to the Shruti, surrendering to Vedanta, and also surrendering to the Guru. Because Vedanta is something which talks very cryptically about these things, and I may not be able to understand what Vedanta is talking about. I need a person, a guru, who is adept at interpreting what Vedanta says. A guru is the one who can understand how to use the words of the Shastra and convey the words of the Shastra in such a way that there are no contradictions. So, if this bondage is there, because of my ignorance, and if ignorance has to go, I have to bring in knowledge, and that knowledge is what? Knowledge which is talked about in the Shruti, in the Vedanta. And if this knowledge that is given in the Vedanta or the end portion of the Vedas, which we call as Shruti, Shruti means the entire Vedas is called as Shruti, but when it comes to Atma Vichara, when it comes to Brahma Vichara, it is the Vedanta portion of the Shruti that really gives this knowledge. And he says, Shruti Pramana Ekamatehe. Ekamati means what? A person who is very clear in his intellect that Shruti is the only pramana. There is nothing else, no meditation, no karma, no following of any other thing is going to give me this knowledge. If I have to get out of this samsara vriksha, if the moolam, the ignorance of this samsara vriksha has to be destroyed, there is only one thing, jnana asi, which Bhagavan Krishna talked about in the 15th chapter. This tree of samsara can be cut by jnana asi, by the sword of knowledge and with vairagya. Vairagya why? Because it's only when I have vairagya or a sense of dispassion towards the jagat, then only I am going to be committed to learning from Vedanta, committed to Guru, Guru Mukhena Shastra Shravanam, Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyanam. That commitment that only Guru and Shruti can give me this knowledge, such a person, such a mumukshu is called as the Ekamatihi. Ekamatihi means there is no confusion in his mind. His intellect is absolutely certain that what can give me this knowledge is Shruti Pramana alone. And I can independently never study the Shruti because I will never understand. I may be a scholar in the language. I may be a Samskrita Pandita. I may be a scholar in Tarka Shastra, in Nyaya Shastra, any other Shastra. But you have to study Vedanta. If Vedanta Pramana has to become the truth for me, then I have to depend upon the Guru. So, Shruti Pramana Ekamate He. For a person who is committed to the Guru Mukhena Shastra Adhyanam Shruti. And what should be the preparation? Swadharma Nishtha. And what is the preparation necessary for this? Getting into the Shruti, Shravanam, exposing this intellect to the Shruti, what do we need? We need Swadharma Nishtha. Whatever Bhagwan Krishna talked about. What is Swadharma Nishtha? Whatever I am supposed to do, wherever I am posited in life, whatever is the thing that I am supposed to do, whatever is my duty to be done towards the family, towards the society. If I am a Vaidika, my Vaidika duties, doing the Nitya karmas, doing the Naimittika karmas, avoiding the Kamya karmas, avoiding the Prayashchita karmas, avoiding the Nishiddha karmas, and doing my best in the position that I am towards my family and to live in harmony with the world outside, which is nothing but karma yoga, and doing my duty. How do I do my duty? Swadharma nishtha. I'm completely absorbed in doing my duty, swadharma. This is what is my duty. I'm born with a particular purpose in a particular situation, and here this is what I have to do. This is my swadharma. And how do I do this swadharma? By offering my karma, whatever I'm doing, Ishvara Arpana Buddhya, I offer it to Ishvara and then accept whatever comes as Ishvara Prasada. So, Swadharma Nishtaha. Swadharma Nishtha means what? Swadharma Nishtha is that by which I committedly do whatever role I am given by Ishvara. And how do I do it? With the attitude of Karma Yoga. Swadharma Nishtha with an attitude of Karma Yoga, which Bhagwan Krishna talked about in the entire third chapter. Three times Bhagwan Krishna summarized it in the 18th chapter. And he told Arjuna several times, Yudhyasva, Yudhyasva, may you fight this war, may you fight this war, because this is your Swadharma. Do your Swadharma, but with the attitude of offering, whatever you are offering, do this Swadharma. Offer it to me. Offer it to me as you are offering and accept whatever comes. Jaya or Ajaya, Labha or Nashta, whatever. Take it as my prasada. This is what Bhagwan Krishna told. And Swadharma Nishta, Tayaiva Atma Vishuddhirasya. With following of Swadharma Nishta, being completely within Swadharma, doing whatever I am supposed to do with the attitude of Karma Yoga and accepting the prasada with the Karma Phala as Ishvara Prasada. This is meant for Atma Vishuddhi, means purification of the mind. Atma Vishuddhi here means Chitta Shuddhi. It is available for the Chitta Shuddhi. Vishuddhi Rasya Vishuddha Buddhehe Paramatma Vedanam. For this Shuddha Vishuddha Buddhihi means for this person who has Chitta Shuddhihi Vishuddha Buddhehe Paramatma Vedanam. Only such a person who has Chitta Shuddhi by following Swadharma Nishta with the attitude of Karma Yoga, such a person With Chitta Shuddhi alone, Paramatma Vedanam can happen. Vedana means knowing, knowing what I am, having this knowledge, which ultimately destroys the root of ignorance, is nothing but this person with a Vishuddha Buddhi. For this person who has this Vishuddha Buddhi, it is not difficult to understand what this Paramatma is. Tenaiva samsara mula nashaha. With that only, with this kind of a knowledge alone, there is a nasha of the samsara. Samsara mula nashaha. The ignorance of the samsara is completely gone. That's what he says now. Then in the next verse, now, what is this? The last question. Tayoho vivekaha. Atma anatmanoho vivekaha. What is this vivek? What were the questions he asked? Ko nama bandhaha, kathamesha agataha, ka asya pratishta, and then how to, what is a vimochanam from this, then what is atma, what is anatma, and what is the viveka between atma and anatma. Tayoho vivekam, that was what was asked about. Now in the next verse, in the verse 153, he talks about what is the meaning of atma anatma viveka. How is atma anatma viveka done? And he gives a kind of a beautiful example of releasing a type of a sweet grass from its covers. Let us read this verse number 153. मुञ्जादिशीकामिव दृश्यवर्गात् प्रत्यञ्चमानानमसङ्गमक्रियं विचित्य तत्र प्रविलाप्य सर्वं तदात्मना तिष्ठति यः स मुक्तः. So, what is this Atma Anatma Viveka? How is it done? He says, gives an example. It seems there is a grass called Munja grass, which is always used in Vedanta as to how to distinguish, how to differentiate, how to discriminate between Atma and Anatma. This is always given as an example of Munja grass. What is this Munja grass? Munja grass is supposed to be having a very sweet kind of a grass in the center, and it is surrounded by a very, very prickly type of a cover, that which really sticks to the hands and that which pricks the hands when you try to open it, and it is covered with this kind of one or two layers, irritating layers of covers, the husky covers. And then to get that particular grass which is sweet, and to savor that grass, or to eat that grass, one has to very slowly and very carefully remove the superficial layers of this grass, munja grass. And it is said that it is very difficult to remove it without breaking it, without breaking the grass, because the superficial layers of this munja grass are always which stick to the hands and which cause a lot of irritation, and they prick the hands because there are something like small soft thorns will be there on this, and it is very difficult to remove these superficial portions of the munja grass. But if you want that tender grass within, then one has to very, very carefully, without hurting the hands, at the same time without breaking that munja grass, one has to very, very carefully release this central core of the grass from the surrounding surface. This is what is called as releasing this from the munja grass. Munja, it is called as the munja grass. It is two layered. One layer is the superficial layer, difficult to remove, but at the same time, unless you remove it, you're not going to really come across that sweet portion of that strand or that thread of the grass inside. And it is said that Atma Anatma Viveka is also like that only. It is not that easy, it is quite difficult. Why is it difficult? Because Atma is the innermost, Pratyagatma. That is why it is called Pratyagatma. That which is the self, that which is the innermost, that which is the nearest to me, this is Atma. And it is surrounded by multiple layers of Anatma. That is the Sharira Trayam. It is supported by the Sharira Trayam. It is covered by the Sharira Trayam. And here in this, Pancha Koshas are going to be talked about in the future verses. So, this Atma, this is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Atma, is covered by many, many layers of Anatma, and one has to slowly, with the process of discrimination, separate the innermost, the Pratyagatma, from the coverings, the so-called coverings called as anatma. This is equated to the process of releasing the munja grass from its prickly outer layers. So here he says, munjadi ishikam iva. Ishika is the central portion of the juicy grass, ishika, whereas munja is the cover. So the whole thing together is called as munja grass. So he says munjat ishikamiva. Munjad ishikamiva means munjat, from the munja grass, ishikamiva, as though that central, tasty portion of the grass, one how it removes like that, the atma has to be separated from drishyavarga. What is Drishvarka? That which is seen, that which is perceived. What is seen, what is perceived, it is the anatma that is perceived. Therefore, I already said anatma is the drishyam, atma is the drik. So, drishya vargat means what? Everything, that entire group of things which belong to the drishyam. What is drishyam? The entire jagat is drishyam. The body is drishyam because I can see it, I can perceive it, others can also perceive it. So the entire body is drishyam. Then the prana is drishyam. I can see the prana, others can also see my prana moving. Mind, I can see, I am very much aware of my thoughts, my emotions, my ragas, my dveshas, my confusion, everything. I am aware of my intellect. I am aware of it. That is also drishyam to me. So the body is drishyam to me. Prana is also drishyam to me. Mana is drishyam to me. And my intellect, I know something is very well, it is revealed to me. I am very well aware of. That I don't know something, I am very well aware of. So my intellect with my ignorance, my knowledge, everything I am aware of. So I am aware of the intellect also. Then I am aware of the doer that I am. I am the doer. I am doing this. I am doing that. That also I am aware of. So that ahankara, the doer ahankara is also drishyam. That means it's an object of my perception. And I am experiencing this. I am happy. I am unhappy. That experience ship also is drishyam. So the Jagat, the body mind sense complex, the doer ahankara, the experiencer ahankara, all of this is Drishya Varga. What is the meaning of Drishya Varga? All of them belong to the Jagat because they are all objects of my perception. I can perceive all these things very clearly. So Drishya Vargat I have to separate. And what is Atma? It is Drik. It is the very observer. It is the very Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. That Atma which is a witness to all these Drishya Varga. Drishya and Druk. Very clearly I explained in the last session what is Drishyam. The whole universe, including my body, mind, sense complex, ahankara, everything belongs to the Drishya Prapancha. It is Drishyam. That is what Drishya Varga. So what should I do? I should separate the Atma from the Drishya Varga. Can it be physically separated? It cannot be separated physically. That is up till there you have to take the example. In the munja grass, you can separate the outer coat, you can get the inner coat, and you can savor the sweetness of that ishika. But when it comes to Atma Anatma, how do you separate? Only out of Viveka or discrimination. I remove the Drishya Varga. I remove all the layers of the Drishyam and ultimately come to the ultimate Drik, that is myself. How? By Viveka. That is why this text is called as Vivekachudamani. So, Munjat Ishikamiva Drishyavargat Pratyancham Atmanam Asangam Akriyam. This Atma, which is Pratyang, means what? Which is the nearest to me, because I am that which is the nearest, which is the innermost, which is the light of consciousness, Pratyang Atmanam. And what kind of an Atma it is? Asangam Akriyam. This Atma, which is in and through the Drishya Varga, but it is not affected by Drishya Varga, which was already talked about in Bhagavad Gita. I do all the karmas, he said. Name karmani limpanti. I am fully involved in all the karmas, but none of the karmas affect me, the consciousness, said Lord Krishna. What happens to my body, mind, sense complex does not affect me, said Lord Krishna. Same thing with us also. Whatever we do outside with the Drashya Prapancha, really speaking, does not affect us. Because I, the Atma, I am Asanga Atma, I am Nirvikara Atma, I am the Akriya Atma. Therefore, nothing can actually disturb me. No Drishya Varga can affect me. Therefore, it says, this asanga akriyam atmanam pratyang atmanam, this innermost, the sweetest, like the Ishika, this innermost asangaha akriya atma has to be very clearly differentiated, discriminated with the process of viveka. It cannot be physically separated because there is no place where Atma is not there. The body mind sense complex is sentient because it is imbued throughout by Atma. Atma or consciousness is Sarvagatam. It is present everywhere in the Jagat. Every name and form is sustained because of Brahman or Atma. Therefore, you cannot differentiate, you cannot remove the world and say, this is Atma, this is Anatma. It is an intellectual process. It is a process of the intellect where the Atma is differentiated or separated from the Anatma by a process of discrimination to be understood. It is an intellectual process where I understand that I am this Asanga Akriya Pratyagatma. I am not affected by the Drishyam Anatma. My entire body, mind, sense complex, Ahankara is nothing but Drishya Prapancha. Drishya Varga. There is no way this Drishya Varga can affect me. That is what is meant by Viveka. That's why this text is called Vivekachudamani. All through here, it is Viveka being talked about, discrimination. Here, in this knowledge, in Atma Jnanam, the only process is discrimination, discrimination. That is why we need to have the preparation of the mind. The buddhi should be capable of discrimination. And to be capable of discrimination, the buddhi has to be prepared. That is why in the first line, in the previous verse, he said, Swadharma Nishtayam. By Swadharma Nishtha, by preparing the mind, Vishuddha Buddhi. By this Vishuddha and Vishuddha, this clear intellect, which is capable of doing this Atma Anatma Viveka, it is possible only because of or only through Chitta Shuddhi by Karma Yoga. And he says, Vichitra Tatra Pravilapya Sarvam. Vichitya means separating this Pratyagatma and discarding Pravilapya Sarvam means discarding the entire Anatma, body, mind, sense complex as mere objects of perception. I am the Sakshi, the body, mind, sense complex is nothing but objects of my perception. I am the Drik and the body mind sense complex is nothing but the Drishyam. So I cannot be the Drishyam. The Drishyam body mind sense complex is incidental. It is an incidental upadhi in me that has come with me. But I am not that upadhi. I am not the anatma. This body mind sense complex is called anatma because it is na atma. I am not that body mind sense complexity. This is called as vichitya, separating the drishya varga anatma from atma. Tatra pravilapya sarvam, discarding all the others as anatma, tadatmana tishtati, abides in his atmaswarupa by mere process of discrimination. Yaha saha muktaha. Such a person is a mukta. Such a person is free from this bondage. This is what is called as the parabhakti. This is what is called as thita prajna. He is the one who is called as thira prajna. He is a person who is called as buddha. He is a person who is called as a jnani. Many names are given which we have seen in Bhagavad Gita right from the second chapter, 9th chapter, 12th chapter, 13th chapter, 14th chapter. All these mean this is the person who is an intelligent person who has seen tadatmana tishtati saha, who abides in the real Atmaswarupa after having discriminated the Drishya Varga body, mind, sense complex as an Atma and abiding myself in this. This is what is called as this is what is ultimately called as the Vivechanam, or it is called as the Atma Anatma Viveka. Now, in the next few verses, Bhagwan Shankaracharya describes this entire Drishya Varga or Anatma by using what is given in Taittiriya Upanishad in the form of the 5 layers. All this time, how did he explain the Anatma? As the 3 bodies. Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira were what was described in the previous session. Now, the same Drishya Varga, the same Anatma from which this Atma has to be differentiated, discriminated, is divided into 5 layers. And this is one of the ways in which the Atma Anatma Viveka is done in Taittiriya Upanishad. This is what is called as Panchakosha Vichara. And the entire Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira is divided into 5 layers: Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. The physical body or the gross body or the sthula shariram is the Annamaya Kosha. Okay, then the Sukshma Sharira is divided into 3 koshas: Prana as 1 kosha, Mana as 1 kosha, then Vijnana or intellect as 1 kosha, and then Karana Shariram is called as the Anandamaya Kosha. So from now onwards, for the next few verses, we are only going to talk about various koshas. This is called as the Pancha Kosha Viveka. And here, how to really do this discrimination between Atma and Anatma is being talked about by Shankaracharya through this process of Panchakosha Viveka, which is talked about in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So let us now take up the 154th verse in the original 154th verse. So what does he say? देहोऽयमन्नभवनो अन्नमयस्तु कोशः चान्येन जीवति विनश्यति तद्विहीनः त्वक्चर्म मांसरुधिरास्ति पुरीशराशिः नायं स्वयं भवितुमर्हति नित्यशुद्धः. So, what is this Annamaya Kosha? He's talking about Annamaya Kosha, the gross body or the physical body, which is called as Annamaya Kosha. Why is this called Annamaya Kosha? He gives Deho Ayam Anna Bhavano Annamayastu Koshaha, the first line. This body, which is created out of Annam, which is created out of food, therefore it is also called as food sheath. This Annamaya Kosha comes into being by Annam, it is sustained by Annam, and at the time of death it goes back into Annam. It is said like that it is born out of food, it is sustained by food, isn't it? How this body was formed? This body was formed by the Annam eaten by our parents in the form of the sperm and the egg, and this body also by the Annam that the mother takes. With the nutrition of the mother, it grew in the mother for a period of 9 or 10 months. And once it is born also, this Annamaya is sustained, ultimately sustained by food only. It grows, it metamorphoses. All the changes that are happening by food itself. And a time comes when apakshiya stage comes, when the growth starts declining, a person stops growing. That is the time when the body slowly starts degenerating and ultimately merges into Annam only. Therefore, he says here, Deho Ayam. This Deha is Anna Bhavanaha. This Annamaya Kosha is born out of or made out of Anna Bhavanaha, Annamayastu Koshaha. This is called as Annamaya Kosha. Annena Jivati. Next line, second line. Annena Jivati. It is sustained, it is kept alive, it is kept growing, it metamorphoses or goes through all the changes by Annam only. That's why when a child is born, it is small, then it grows, Vardhate. Then the teenage happens, metamorphosis take place, adulthood comes, Viparinamate. Then once the person lives as an adult for some time, putting on more girth rather than height after some time, then what happens? The person starts degenerating. Slowly, we find that as the age progresses, diseases start happening, and a person starts losing weight. Whatever he was earlier, slowly you find that the person has shrunk. The food literally starts eating this person, and he generates and merges and ultimately dies and merges the body. The Annamaya merges into the food cycle, whether it is burnt, whether it is cremated, or whether it is buried, whatever it is, the body goes back to the Annam, the five elements, it goes back to them. So, Annena Jivati, Vinashyati Tadvihinaha. Without Annam, this body gets destroyed. Tadvihinaha vinashyati. When food is not given in starvation, the body degenerates, it shrinks, and if the food is not given for enough period of time, because of the lack of food, the body can die. How long does it take? We do not know. It may take a few days or a few weeks or sometimes 3 to 4 months. When a person stops completely eating, also, the body starts eating itself. It starts eating its own muscles. It starts eating its own fat. And ultimately, when the body is not able to consume itself, then it dies. It is because of what? Because of the lack of food. Tadvihinaha vinashyati. And this physical body contains what? Tvak, charma, mamsa, rudhira, asti, purisha rashihi. So what is it made up of? What are the various dhatus? They are called as sapta dhatus. So different dhatus or different, they're made up of, materials like, various kinds of elements, various kinds of metals. So many things the body is made up of. So what is it made up of? Tvak, charma. Tvak means the superficial layer of skin. Charma means the deeper layers of the skin. Mamsa means the muscles. Rudhira means, the blood. It is made up of blood. Asti. Asti means it is really asthi. It is not asti. It is asthi. Means bones, and also the waste. Purisha, the fecal matter. That is why it is called, it is Purisha Bhandaha. That's why it is great that we don't see what is inside our body. Just imagine if we are able to turn our eyes inside and see what is happening inside our body. We'll not be able to tolerate it at all, because so many things are going on. Outside, we anoint this body, we keep this body going, that is there. But ultimately, what is it? It is something which is nothing but an assemblage of charma, and then it is an assemblage of mamsa, rudhira, and all these things, bones, etc., that keeps this whole physical body going. Then he says that it is Purisha Rashihi, all the waste materials are also in that. Nayam Swayam Bhavitum Arhati Nitya Shuddhaha. Na Ayam Swayam Bhavitum Arhati Nitya Shuddha. I cannot be this body. I, the Atma, cannot be this body. Why? The body is the observed. The body is Drishyam. I am the Drik. The body is continuously undergoing changes. I am Nirvikari. The body is made up of parts. I am not made up of parts, I am the whole. So, what is this body? It comes at a time, at a point in time, it is born. It is sustained for some time. It degenerates, it dies. It is made up of parts. It is savikari. It is there at one time, not there at one time. This constantly changing, constantly degenerating physical body, that which is subject to jara and mrityu and roga, that which is subject to disease, aging, and death. I, the Atma, cannot be this physical body. This physical body needs me, the Atma, to sustain it. The physical body gets its sentience from me, the Atma. I am the very Sakshi of this physical body, but I am not the physical body. Na ayam swayam bhavitum arhati nitya shuddhaha. Who am I? I am the Nitya Shuddha Atma. So I cannot be this Annamaya Kosha, cannot be, I cannot be this Annamaya Kosha or Atma. This Annamaya Kosha needs the support of me, but I, the Atma, can be there without the support of Annamaya Kosha. And then in the next verse, 155th verse, in the next verse, he says, what does he say? पूर्वं जनेरधिमृतेरपि नायमस्ति जातक्षणक्षणगुणो नियतस्वभावः नैको जडश्च घटवत् परिदृश्यमानः स्वात्मा कथं भवति भावविकारवेत्ता. What is this body? This continues to have bhava vikaras. We have already seen it in Tattva Bodha. We have seen it in Bhagavad Gita. This body is born, jayate. This body exists for a certain period of time, asti. Vardhate, this body grows. Viparinamate, this body undergoes what are called as the metamorphosis or changes into adulthood. The body becomes the subject of roga and jara and degenerates, apakshiyate, and then one day this body really becomes absolutely jada, it dies, vinashyati. These are what are called as the bhava vikaras. And purvam janehe adhimriterapi nayamasti. Purvam janehe nayamasti. This body is not there before it is born. I don't know where this body was before it was born. It was not there. We don't have to take our, let us take our own relatives. Those who were there, we have seen them. Our parents were there. Now they are not there. They were there. They were born. Before I was born, I was not there. But I am there now. But after death, I am not going to be there. How do I know? I am seeing others that after that they are not there. So Purvam Janehe Nayamasti. Before birth it is not there. Adhimriterapi Nayamasti. Once it is dead also it is not there. The others will have to take care of once I am dead. The others will have to dispose it off. So this body is not there after death. It is not there before it is born. Jata kshana kshana guno aniyata swabhavaha. Next slide. The moment it is born, kshana kshana aniyata swabhavaha. Every moment it is changing. When I started this session, what this body was, it is not so now. In this half an hour or 45 minutes, the body has undergone its changes. What is it because of? Because constantly it is growing, changing, being born, changing. Initially, in the period of growth, most of the cells are replaced, the body cells and the organs are replaced. But when a time comes when at the end of life, no replacement happens. What is lost. Aniyata swabhava, unpredictable. I don't have to wait for old age to die. They're seeing that at young age itself I can go. I can die at the age of 18, I can die at the age of 28, 38, 48, or I may die at the age of 98. This body may die when it is perfectly healthy. This body may not die for months together, bedridden, sick. Still, it may not die because of its prarabdha. Depending upon the prarabdha, the body is alive for a certain period of time. Therefore, he says, Jata kshana kshana gunaha. Kshana kshana gunaha. It keeps changing. It has got its own characteristics, qualities which keep changing. Kshana kshana aniyata swabhavaha. It is very unpredictable. Never we can predict. Today I am healthy, tomorrow I don't know. Because I may get a cold, I may have a fever, whatever it is. So it is aniyata swabhavaha. Na yeko jadascha ghatavata. Na ekaha. It is not one, it is made up of parts. Hundreds of parts of the body put together, intelligently put together by Ishvara. This body works as a whole. It functions as a whole, but it is not one. It is not an unbroken thing. I can lose my arm, I can still be alive. I can lose my eye, I can still be alive. I can lose one kidney and still be alive. I can lose 90% of the liver, I can still be alive. I can lose half of the muscles of my heart and still be alive. That means what? Hundreds of things are put together. Therefore, it is not eka. It is not one. It is many things. It is a samhata. Samhata means what? Very intelligently put together. It is jada. It is jada. It is insentient. It is made sentient by me, but by itself it is jada. How do I know it? When the body dies, I know that it is jada. Whatever sentience was there, it was transferred by the Sukshma Sharira. At the time of death, the Sukshma Sharira has gone away, and there is no question of the Sharira being sentient. So it is Jada. Like what? Ghatavat, like a pot. It is Jada like a pot. Just like how you see a wood, like a clay pot. How is it? It is Jada. It does not have a sentience. That is why at the time of death they break a pot. This pot has served its purpose. Ghatavat, it was like a pot which was made sentient, but now it is like a jada, like this pot only. And this pot has, Sharira pot has fulfilled its purpose. Now it is a broken pot and it is fit to be disposed of. That is why that ghata is broken at the time of death. So this is ekascha na eka, it is not one, jadascha ghatavat paridrishyamanaha. It is something which can be witnessed by me. It can be witnessed by others. So it is an object of my perception. It is tangible. It is perceived by me as an object. Therefore, I am not that. Svatma katam bhavati. How can it be me, the Atma? That which is born. I am not born. Atma is not born. Na jayate mriyate. There are no bhava vikaras for Atma. It is nirvikari. It is nirgunaha nirvikari. I, this Atma, which is nirgunaha nirvikari, ajo nitya shashvatoyam purana, how can I be that which undergoes change? I am the bhava vikara veta. Last word. I am the very witness of all the vikaras that take place in the body. I am not the vikaras. I am who? I am the observer, the consciousness that observes all the bhava vikaras. Therefore, I am not the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha is born, exists for some time, disappears. It is born out of Annam, sustained by Annam, disappears into Annam. It is multiple parts put together. It is Jada like a pot. And who am I? I am the Atma who gives sentience to this body. I am the Drik who sees this body. I am one Atma, whereas this body is multiple. And I see I am the Drik, and this Annamaya Kosha is the Drishyam. Therefore, I am not this body. Now, with this, Annamaya Kosha is over. Next, Bhagwan Shankaracharya comes to the next kosha, which is called the Pranamaya kosha. See, here we have to understand this kosha business. See, what here our scriptures say is that the innermost Atma is covered by 5 layers. It is a way of explaining. It's not that it's covered one after another. There are 5 things which are covering this Atma. You can take the example of a Channapatna doll. You know these dolls within dolls. There is one big doll there, and you open that and you find another similar looking doll. So it is said that Annamaya Kosha has a certain shape. So the subtle body also is, since it is within the Sthula Shariram, the subtle body, the Pranamaya Kosha, the Manomaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, all these koshas are also of almost the same shape of the body. Like if you put water into a bottle, it assumes the shape of water. Supposing there is space in a bottle, the space is nothing but the shape of the bottle. That kind of a shape is there. Though you cannot ascertain any shape for water or space, but wherever it is found, it is like that. Similarly, these koshas mean that within this Annamaya kosha, on the same model, looking similar, within this, the next layer is the Pranamaya. What is Pranamaya? Which is the physiological layer of the body. Annamaya is the anatomy of the body. Pranamaya is what? The physiological layer of the body. The Pranamaya contains, 5 pranas. Prana, which is the respiratory prana, which we have already seen earlier. Then we have Apana, which is the lower going prana, and that which is the excretory prana. Then we have Vyana, the circulatory system. Then we have Samana, the digestive system. Then we have the Udana prana, the reversing system, and at the time of death, this Udana prana takes the Sukshma Sharira away. So what is Pranamaya Kosha? The Pranamaya Kosha is the physiology, the physiological sheath Annamaya is the anatomical sheath, and in the same shape of Annamaya, immediately inside this Annamaya is what is called as the Pranamaya Kosha. And this Pranamaya Kosha is associated with the Karmendriyas. It is not only the prana, but it is associated with Karmendriyas. So Pranamaya Kosha involves the five physiological pranas and the Karmendriyas. Vak, Pani, Padav, Upastha, Payu. All this is Tattva Bodha portion. I should not be really explaining it, but I'm just trying to say that the Pranamaya Kosha includes the five physiological pranas and the Karmendriyas. Why Karmendriyas? It is the prana which makes the Karmendriyas to act, because it is the prana has come out of the rajoguna of the five elements. The combination of the rajoguna of all the five elements is pranamaya. Therefore, for actions to happen, the karmendriyas are also rajoguna udbhava. Therefore, the pranamaya kosha, the physiological prana, along with the karmendriyas, is what is called as the pranamaya kosha. So here in the verse number 165 verse, pranamaya kosha is explained. He said, कर्मेन्द्रियैः पञ्चभिरचिन्तोऽयं प्राणो भवेत् प्राणमयस्तु कोशः येनात्मवानन्नमयोऽनुपूर्णः प्रवर्तते सौ सकलक्रियासु. So what is this pranamaya kosha? Karmendriyaihi sahitam panchabhihi, okay, panchabhirachitoyam. Anchitaha means associated with the five karmendriyas. Prano bhavet. Prana is associated with the five karmendriyas. Vak, Pani, Padav, Upastha, Payu. That is the organ of speech, the hands, the legs, the organs of excretion, and the organ of reproduction. These are what is called as the karmendriyas. Karmendriyaihi panchabhihi. The five karmendriyas are a part of Anchito Ayam. That means it's a part of the Pranamaya Kosha. Pranaha Bhavet, Pranamayastu Koshaha. The prana, that is the physiological prana, the respiratory prana, the circulatory prana, the digestive prana, the excretory prana, the reversing prana, all these five physiological pranas, along with the five karmendriyas, are called as the pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya ayamast, pranamayastu kosha. Yena atmavan annamayo anupurnaha. This particular becomes the interior portion of the Annamaya Kosha. That is why in Taittiriya Upanishad it is called Anyontara Atma Pranamayaha. Anya Antara Atma. Other than the Annamaya, immediately inside to the Annamaya, which is in the same shape of Annamaya, which is completely filling up the entire Annamaya like the space fills a pot or a bottle. That is Annamayena Anupurnaha. Annamaya Anupurnaha. This completely fills up the Annamaya kosha. The Pranamaya, the physiology, the physiological sheath completely fills up the anatomical sheath. So it is the Pranamaya's actions because of which the Annamaya gets the circulation, gets the oxygen. Because of the breathing of the Pranamaya, the Annamaya is breathing. Because of the circulation of the Pranamaya, entire body gets its circulation. Excretory prana, all the physiological functions are keeping the body alive. Yena Atmavan Annamayo Anupurnaha. So it is the Atma or the internal layer to Annamaya. Anyaha Antaraha. It is a second sheath which is inside, which is interior to the Annamaya and literally covers the entire Annamaya with itself. Then Pravartate Asau Sakala Kriyasu. All the actions are pravartate. All the actions are brought about by this pranamaya kosha. Not only the breathing action, the eating action, everything, whatever the karmendriyas are doing, they are doing all the action. Whatever our actions, all our actions can be divided into five. Speaking action, action with the hands, action with the legs, action with the the excretory organs, and actions along with the reproductive organs. These are our five karmendriyas by which the Annamaya Kosha acts. And what is it that really stimulates this Annamaya to act with the five karmendriyas? This is what is called as Pranamaya. Pravartate asau sakala kriyasu. It is this Pranamaya Atma or Pranamaya Kosha which actually indulges in all the actions. It uses the Annamaya Kosha through which the Pranamaya Kosha's actions are seen. It is the Annamaya Kosha through which the Pranamaya executes all its actions. Therefore, what is Pranamaya? What is it? It is going to be explained in the next verse. But Pranamaya is immediately internal to the Annamaya. If Annamaya is the anatomical sheath, Pranamaya is the physiological sheath. All karma starts there because Pranamaya Kosha also has got the karmendriyas as a part of it. And then it says that this Pranamaya Kosha is where all the activities are begun, and the activities are done with the help of the Annamaya Kosha. So it is the Pranamaya where all the activities start, where all the activities are executed, and Annamaya just carries on the activities executed by the Pranamaya Kosha. With this, we have not completed. We have just started the first verse of Pranamaya. Since it's time up now, we will take in the next session, complete the Pranamaya and other Manomaya and Vijnanamaya also. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुस्तदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तत्सत्